something we've been working on is a lot of generous people who have seen what we were doing have donated money to us. We're not a legal entity. We're not a not-for-profit organization. We're a movement, and so we need to figure out how we can best use that money for ourselves, stay safe ourselves, and protect our donors. We had a couple of organizations come forward and be willing to be fiscal sponsors for us, so people can make donations to them, and then they will write grants for us. And so we've got a little over $20,000 now that we're able to spend. And one of the conversations that's been happening is because it's cold outside, because we don't have an office space, because organizing is important to us, what does it look like for Occupy Chicago to be around during the winter? How do we maintain a physical presence outdoors, which I believe is key to our movement, but at the same time have space indoors? So there's been a lot of discussions in the last couple of weeks internally in various committees for housing and at the larger General Assembly about what does moving indoors look like and what are our options for moving indoors. We haven't come to a consensus on that yet, but we're moving toward there. As today, we take another step forward.
So there really hasn't been a movement toward any sort of tent city or moving on to property, either public or private, here in Chicago at all.
There's a lot of discussions about it. So one of the things is, as a leaderless movement, as a movement that is both leaderless and full of leaders, everyone has great ideas. Everyone's bringing ideas forward, and we're struggling with each other about these ideas and what's best for us. Certainly there's been talks about more attempts at encampment. Certainly there's been talks about direct action, about occupying foreclosed homes, occupying hospitals that will be closed, occupying schools that will be closed. You know, there's a pastor on the south side of Chicago right now who's been occupying the roof across the street from his church. And our group has endorsed, we're joining him tomorrow night on Sunday, going to occupy that room with him. Some people will stay behind and continue that occupation with him. So yes, there's talk about further occupations and how do we get the tent in, because it's a very powerful image. But we're moving more towards a decentralized model of that. People are expanding outwards. There's a lot of different occupations that are being planned right now, maybe not one central occupation. And then I think the overall plan is, come April, before NATO G8, we're going to try to get a more centralized location and camp and prepare to confront these powerful people. We all know that the system as it is isn't working. We need to figure out how to change that and what we want it to look like. So a physical presence means to me is a space where I can have a conversation face to face with another person and tell them my story, then hear their story, and we work out together. What's our vision for a better future? It's not about saying, okay, well now we have this space and that's the solution. The space is the process, and that's what we're trying to build a collaborative space that is open, free, democratic, and we don't have anything like that up until this movement came along. You know, it's a push, it's a struggle. I mean, that's why we call it the struggle, right? We disagree with each other, and we respectfully come here and work out our disagreements.
So this isn't by any means a utopian sort of community.
It's certainly not paradise. You know, democracy is messy. Democracy has to be messy. We know that, because there are so many people with so many different stories, with so many different visions, with so many different interests, and we want everyone to be under the same tent. We want everyone to be recognized, everyone to have their voice heard. And sometimes that's hard, because we're dealing with, every one of us is a product of a system that taught us to move ourselves forward first, that majority rules is the way to decide things, that, you know, number one, I got to take care of myself. And sometimes we have to step back and say, I recognize when I'm going over the line. I recognize when my interest may be able to take a step back. I recognize my privilege. I recognize, you know, all these factors of society that come into play here, and try to take a good look in the mirror and say, is what I'm saying really moving us forward, or can I hear this story with open ears and an open heart? And it's a process. It's certainly difficult. There's by no means perfect, and it's very messy. But we're getting there. We're moving forward.
Well, thank you so very much for talking with us tonight.
Thank you.